you just have to remind yourself that you have these really just neat people that you get to hang out with every day.
Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast, where you'll be not only allowed, but encouraged to dream big dreams and imagine the very best future for yourself and your family. Throw away expectations and perfection and embrace the messy beauty of what it means to be a marvelous mom. I'm your host, Kristen Tyrell, and I can't wait to help you discover what makes you marvelous. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. There's an app for that, of the podcast. Today I am joined by Kristen Mittler. Did I say your last name correctly? I forgot to verify that. Okay.
Yes,
It seemed pretty simple. Of Old Joy, you may follow her on Instagram, and I met you at the Wild and Free conference here. I'm a new homeschooler. You're a little bit of a seasoned homeschooler. And Kristen was my favorite breakout session of the entire 2-day conference. She was so...
Oh, thank you.
You were so down to earth, so like relatable, and I just was drawn to you. And I'm sure you hear that a lot from people. You just have that energy where it's kind of just non-assuming, and people just feel like they can approach you and talk to you. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I of course wanted to have you on here, and I thought you'd be such a great fit to share with these moms who are listening. And I think that calmness, and I know calmness doesn't mean you have your whole life together, but we gravitate to that because we want more of that in our life. And I see that in you, and I'm like, oh, I need to bring that goodness here to the podcast. So thanks for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so homeschool mom, this is going to be a little bit of our topic today because we are both homeschoolers. How long have you, actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about how many kids you have, including the one that's on the way.
Okay, so I have 4 kids. I have Eleanor, who is going to be 12 in January, and I have Wolfgang, who's newly 6, and Rufus, who's 4, and Agnes, who is 2, and then I'm in my second trimester with number 5.
And you don't know what you're having, right?
No.
Is it going to be a
Not
surprise?
yet, anyways. We don't know. Eric says that I don't have to find out, but he is. So
he's like, I'm not playing this game. I'm going to find out. It's up to you what you want to do. That's awesome. What do you think you'll do? Are you somebody who can handle anticipation? You seem like you'd be a really patient person, but I don't know. That's a hard one.
I don't know. I feel like once I got over a certain hump, like, because in the beginning, you just, that's when you have most of the, like the anxiousness about the pregnancy in general. Like,
yeah.
So it's like, I feel most anxious about knowing now, but I think once I got over the hump, like the halfway, and I didn't find out, then I think I would be just excited that I didn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You'd want to hold out and see if you can actually do it.
Yeah.
But then the question is, can your husband actually not flip?
Right. And he can't keep secrets.
So yeah, you're doomed.
If he knew, there's no way he would be able to not say anything.
Yeah. Good luck. Well, we're excited to see how that plays out.
Thanks.
Okay, so speaking of, you guys, if you want to follow along on her story, she is an amazing person to follow because her feed is it's simple and inspiring, and it just really does bring you right down to the grounding principles of motherhood. There's just so much joy, which, I mean, hello, your title, your username is Old Joy, which I absolutely love. How did you come up with that username, by the way? What was your inspiration?
So that's stolen from a movie.
Oh.
Okay, so when I opened my Instagram, I first had an Instagram account. It was Moon School because I had a blog, Moon Schooling Eleanor. And then I got off of the internet. This is like in early 2013. I deactivated my account. I'm like, I don't really want to do that. And then I got back on it. And my favorite musician, Bonnie Prince Billy, he also like helps produce movies sometimes. And he was in this movie called Old Joy, and it was like one of my favorite movies. And I didn't expect anyone. I thought my family was going to follow me. So I didn't think it was any big deal. But now I feel kind of weird about it because it's actually from a movie.
You feel like you're like an imposter, like I actually stole somebody else's inspiration, but hey.
But I had no idea,
Right. Yeah. But it has taken off. You have a pretty good following over there. And what do you think it is that people love most, or what do you think resonates with them? I know it resonates with me, but what are you kind of finding? Who's your community? Is it mostly homeschool moms? Is it moms who just love
I don't think it is homeschool moms. I mean, there are homeschooling moms, but I don't think that that's because when I first got involved in Wild and Free, most people had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have like I'm still pretty new to the homeschooling community online, but
Hmm.
so I would say that it's mostly just just moms in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna find out what it is that people are just drawn to and love about you. Before we get into it even more, guys, I just want to preface this with we're both homeschool moms. So anything goes, any kid could come in, and we will do our very best to edit out any major interruptions, but this is just how it is. It's the
Me
Marvelous Moms
screaming.
podcast. Yeah. We'll cut that part out, but all the cute
Oh yeah.
noises, we'll leave those in. Oh, okay. So let's hear a little bit of your backstory with homeschool. You've got, first of all, there's an age gap there, which I know that even has a little bit to do with your story and just kind of the evolution of you as a mother and things that you've had to go through some really hard things. So you can tell as much of the story or as little as you want, but I just kind of want the backstory on what inspired you and why you did start homeschooling your family.
Okay. So when Eleanor was teeny tiny, my husband and I separated
Mm-hmm.
for a year, and I was working full time. I had a pretty heavy commute. It was like an hour and 15 minutes both ways, and my mom was watching her for us, and then we were also sharing her at the same time, Eric and I. So it was just I felt like I never saw her.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we reunited, got back together, whatever, she was, I think she was almost 4, or no,
Mm-hmm.
3, almost, I don't know, something like that. She still had a couple years to go before she would start kindergarten, but I quit my job, so I was staying home with her, and then it came to the time where we're like, well, shoot, what are we going to do for school,
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like really drawn to the idea of homeschooling because I just didn't want to send her anywhere. I mean, and like
Yeah.
I feel like looking back on that, like I feel like maybe that was kind of like selfish of me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be with her. Like that was it. And for the longest time I was so ashamed of that when there's actually another interview of me online, not a podcast, where I answered the question with, we were in a bad school district. Like
Mm.
that's what I used to say to people, like,
Yeah.
oh, we were just in a bad school district, because I was so ashamed that like I
You just
homeschooled her for
wanted to
such
be
a
with her.
yeah, but I was ashamed of saying that. Like it felt
So
so
interesting.
selfish to say that. So I would
Yeah.
just say we were in a bad school district. That's why. But it
Yeah.
was like so much more than that. And so yeah. But
I
then
relate
so
to that,
kindergarten.
but in my youngest, it's for me, it didn't happen with the oldest. I had like a little spout of homeschooling and then I put him back in school. But then this last year, I'm homeschooling all three. And one of the things that pushed me over the edge was they do full day kindergarten here. They don't where I used to live. And I could not bear the thought of sending my daughter to be gone for 8 hours a day. Like I couldn't. And it's not that I love her more than my other kids. I just couldn't be away from her. Maybe it's a mother daughter bond. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I totally get the shame too, because even still, I live in Tennessee. There's a huge homeschool community here. And I'm still a little bit embarrassed when I tell people I homeschool. Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
that is about. There's like that shame layer. But anyway,
Yeah, there is a shame layer, and I feel like people don't really talk about that too much. But you have to get over that because well, you just automatically feel like um, people are going to think you're weird or they're going to judge
hmm,
you. So you just have
yeah.
to get over that. But
Yeah. Okay. So
but
continue on with the story.
okay, so kindergarten and first grade, we homeschooled, and I think I talked about at Wild and Free. She had this incident where, first of all, she was involved in everything. Like I just kept her in so many activities. Like we were out in the world every single day, like doing something specifically for her to be around other children and to learn and all that.
Do you feel
Um,
like that was also inspired by that shame? Like, I'm going to prove that we're not missing out on anything. I have something I need to prove by keeping
yeah.
her involved.
Yeah, well, I also just had no idea what was expected of me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like what is the, because I mean, I didn't know anybody that homeschooled. I mean, it was like I didn't know. I just thought like, oh, okay, I gotta just dive in and do as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like the right way to do it.
Right.
But anyways, So she was in this ice skating class, and they were giving out like free coupons, like bring a friend in to skate. And then when it got to her, and plus I think I was very pregnant with Wolfgang at the time. Yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like super emotional at the time. And so it got to her and she said, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't have any friends." And
Mm.
then like, I was like standing in the doorway and like, it just like ripped my heart open. I mean, Eleanor
Yeah.
was so unaffected by it. Like, it was no big deal to her to say that.
Yeah, just matter
But
of
to
fact.
me, it was like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? So then we decided to put her in school because I just, I completely just doubted
Mm-hmm.
everything, every decision that I had made up to that point.
Yeah.
So she went to school for second grade and third grade, but then, we sort of left it up to her. We had moved we're not halfway through, like the beginning of her third grade year. And then we sort of just said, "What do you want to do, Eleanor?" And then she said, "I want to homeschool." So
Mm.
we've been back at it ever
Ever
since.
since. So where do
Yeah.
you think do you feel like the transition or the permission came to homeschool after she chose that? Do you think that made it easier?
It did make it easier because, well, it was just sort of like, I don't know. I don't regret putting her in school either. I think
Mm-hmm.
we needed to try it both ways
Yeah.
because
Yep.
I just want, and I always want to make it clear to people that I am not like, you have to homeschool your kids. I don't feel like that at all. I think
Yeah.
school, public school, private school, whatever, I think any of that is just perfectly wonderful. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything against it. So I have no regrets trying school
Yeah.
at all. It's actually kind of nice because then, right, it could be her decision and it could be that she could be like, well, I just liked homeschooling. So
Yeah.
now that's what we do.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, and I love too that you said that. I think that was a really powerful statement to hear when you spoke at Wild and Free. You gave kind of this permission statement to people of like, you don't have to homeschool all the time. And I think that's kind of for me and my husband when we decided to do it this year. We were like, this doesn't have to be a full time, lifetime commitment. We can try it for a year. We can try it for 6 months, and if it just doesn't
Oh,
work,
yeah.
we can always transition. And I think there tends to be, how the mom camps work. Like, I'm this, you're that, and we kind of separate and we really differentiate
Oh,
from each
yeah.
other. But I think it can be really easy to get really invested in the life that you've chosen and say this is the only way, it's the best way. But
For
it's
sure.
really not about that. It's not, well, I homeschool, so there's something more noble about me. It's almost, I don't know if you feel this way, awkward when people are like, oh my gosh, bless you, there is something so special about a mom who can homeschool. And I'm like, no, I'd actually just prefer this over PTA and parent teacher conferences and all that kind of stuff. This is easier
Right.
for
Yeah.
me. So I don't know. That's kind of, it always makes me feel like there's really nothing more special about what we do. It's just what we feel called to do for our children.
Right,
Yeah.
right now, and that can change, or your children can require something differently.
Yeah.
We always have the open mind of, if one of our kids wants to go to school or whatever, like we want to for them to have a say in their education
Yeah.
and not to force anything on them.
Right. Yeah. I feel like that's a pretty big takeaway for people in trying to make a decision about that because it's a big decision, like how your kids are educated. Don't you think it's interesting too how often we think like, I think you said this at Wild and Free. Nobody ever asked like if I was going to not do public school or something like that. Like nobody really cares. They're not judging you until you've actually gone to homeschool. And then
Right,
you
yeah.
feel like you're going to be judged for putting them back in school, but nobody judged you for
Oh,
putting them in the first
big
place.
time. No, that I feel like that is so. I mean, I think that is so huge. Like I really do, and it's so stupid because
Mm-hmm.
it's like why would we? Like, because it means like, oh, I tried this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like most people don't do it. It's like it's fine,
Yeah.
Like it's
Exactly.
like
You're allowed to change
yeah,
your mind and you're allowed for your
right,
priorities to change. That really has been something that's resonated and like kind of echoed in my mind as we go through the really hard days of homeschool. Or I'm like, Kirsten, it's fine. If this continues and this just doesn't work and you don't have some good days layered in here, then it's okay to try it as something else, Not that it's like
right.
okay, I hate this, I'm gonna quit because it's hard, because everything's hard. Every way that you parent and all the things can always be hard. So, yeah.
Oh
But I
yeah,
think it's good to know you
absolutely.
have a choice. This isn't forever.
Right.
Okay, so I love your blog, by the way, and I love that we kind of are one and the same in that you have started interviewing moms and really sharing like behind the scenes, real raw stuff with other mothers. And let's see, what do you call that segment? It is,
Mothers as they
yes,
are.
Mothers as They Are,
Yeah.
which totally fits the theme of this podcast and probably why I felt like you needed to be here anyway. And this is something relatively new that you've started doing. Is your blog kind of an outlet for you that's just something that's yours, or is it kind of a way more of documenting what's happening at home? And actually, before we get into that, I want to hear a little bit of the history because you said that it started out as moon schooling, um, or moon school. Yeah, moon schooling, which you have as a segment on your blog as well. Tell me what moon
Right.
schooling means.
Okay, so, well, before I had kids, and, well, not before, during, well, Eleanor was a baby. And, anyways, we had a group of friends, really close group of friends that we would see like once a week, twice a week sometimes, just hang out a lot. And they always used to make fun of me saying I was going to have weird kids that I moon school. And and it just like sort of came true because I do homeschool. Yes. Like they always used to tease me about that. Like, oh, you're just gonna moon school your kids. And so when I first started, it was moon schooling Eleanor because it was sort of a joke off that.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it. They knew
uh,
you had this like inclination. They had you labeled basically. They had you figured out.
right.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been
Um,
go ahead.
well, I actually blogged a whole lot more when it was just Eleanor.
Mhm. Isn't
And
that the
Wolfgang,
truth?
I don't know, maybe I had more time or something. I hardly ever blog now. Like I made those different sort of sections on my current site,
Mhm.
but I rarely have a chance to actually get to them.
Yeah.
But the Mothers as They Are, I was doing it every single Sunday, and then the morning sickness sort of came all day, and then I
Mm,
sort of, so I haven't been every Sunday this, for a while. I can't wait to get back into that,
yeah.
because I'm starting to feel better. But
Right. Well, I want to flip some of these questions that you've asked moms directed at you because I'm sure that people listening want to know these things about you, and if they follow you, they especially want to know. So let's ask some of your own questions of you.
okay.
Okay. So, what is this is one that I think a lot of women need to hear. What is something that helps you take care of you? Like, what's your self care routine?
I don't have a routine necessarily, but something that helps take care of me is making sure that I get like 20 minutes here and there, like throughout the day. Like, I don't really need to go get a pedicure
Yeah.
or like I don't need to leave the house
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. Sometimes I do. Like I like to run to the store and like 1 hour and then I come back like a brand new woman.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but most of the time, like during the day, like I know screen time is big. Like people don't, aren't really pro screen time, but I am like the opposite. I'm very pro screen time.
I love it.
So
That's so not what I would have
because
expected of you. That's so
no,
funny.
but I just mean like I don't think it has to be like this thing that we should feel
Yeah.
ashamed of.
Yes.
Like we don't even call it screen time. We just call it watching TV.
Mm-hmm. Like what it was when we were
So
kids.
right, exactly. So it's like if we've had our mornings are super productive.
Yeah.
Like we just bang out school in the mornings and we get so much done. But after lunch is generally when it gets kind of hairy.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm like feeling super overwhelmed, then I just let them watch TV
Mm-hmm.
and then I just sit on the couch and have a snack or I watch something on my phone or
Mm-hmm.
whatever and it's totally guilt free.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we are one and the same. I feel like it took me some time to get there. I've only been doing this for a few months, but that is exactly how I think I would describe my self care routine as well. It doesn't have to be a big massage, it doesn't have to be a day
Yeah,
away. Those things are nice every once in a while. But
sure.
my thing is like a Sonic run. There's a Sonic like a mile and a half away. Maybe
Yeah.
it's further. I don't know. It doesn't feel far enough sometimes, but I will just drive there and it's not even so much for the drink, it's just to sit there and like not have anybody talking to me for a little bit and
Yeah.
to be
That's
alone with my
that's
thoughts.
That's so hilarious that you said that because actually a Sonic that's not far from us.
Uh-huh.
And um in the summer especially, I do Sonic runs in the evenings. And sometimes I get there and I'm like on my way home and it's like too quick, but there's this school that's halfway, an elementary school,
Uh-huh.
and I'll pull into the parking lot and then I'll just sit there for a few minutes while I enjoy whatever I got, and then I'll come home.
That's so
So
funny.
it's like,
If you were a man, that would be so creepy. But because
yeah, because
you're a
an
mom,
exhausted mom.
it's totally fine. And you're sitting
Right.
there
I've even thought about like, what if a police car pulls in here and they're just gonna take one look at me and be like, "Oh, you're cool. You're just a mom
you're
who's
just
like
eating
escaped."
you're just eating French fries and having your moment. Let me just leave you there. It's so funny. Well, hot tip. Do you know this? I don't know. Maybe everybody knows this and I'm the last to know, or maybe I'm helping you out here. If you sit in the Sonic stall and you finish your drink, they'll refill it for free. Did you know
Oh,
that?
really?
Yes.
I did not. I did
I
not know
I
that.
know. That's why I used to just leave and come and just sit in the garage for 20 minutes and I would just wait like for everybody to know that I was home. But now I just stay there and I will like literally
Oh, that's
I'll
awesome.
take my journal, I'll read things on my phone and I just have like little me time, little devotional time for mom and it makes me such a better mother. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it. And I'm all in favor of, especially now with like the Disney Plus app on
Yeah.
our TV. I'm like, you guys get to watch stuff. They're watching the original Parent Trap today. I love that.
And it feels good too because it's like classic movies
Yeah.
and not like weird Netflix shows.
Yes.
So you're just like, no, this is good for them.
This is actually changing their character for the better. It's fine.
Right.
Pollyanna is good for the soul. I mean, seriously though,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we could be best friends. If you want to just move down the street, we could do Sonic together. We could let our kids run free
Yeah.
in the backyard. Okay, cool. Well, I love that. I'm glad that you have a self-care routine even if it's not as fancy as people think it needs to be. I think simplicity is key, right? For me, even it's
Mm-hmm.
like baths. I have to take a bath a couple times a week where it's like a situation. It's like a setup, right? Like I have to have a candle
Yeah.
and it has our bathroom is actually kind of strange because there's a huge window next to the bathtub. So if the lights are on and people happen to be looking up into our window from the house behind us, they're going to see a
Yeah.
show. So I literally have to turn off the lights. It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it sounds relaxing.
Okay, so and this is a good one, especially for other homeschool moms to maybe this will resonate. Do you ever feel lonely? And if so, what helps with that?
Oh, I'm like the loneliest person that ever lived.
Oh, that's so sad.
I think that's why I asked that question and I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
because I I talked to my mother about this. Because when I was growing up, my dad was a hunter. He hunted a lot, but he hunted raccoon. So
Mhm.
he hunted at night. So you can only hunt in the dark. So he would get off work, be home for dinner, and then he would leave and hunt at night, and then he wouldn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And like he just hunted a lot. It's like a whole thing. Like if you know coon hunters, like it's a thing. Like
Yeah.
they do it a lot, and it's like I don't know. Anyways, it's interesting, but my mom, she really had she didn't hate it that he did it, but she got frustrated with it a lot. And growing
Mhm.
up, I used to think like, like why doesn't she just lighten up about it,
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I became a mom that I was like, she was lonely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it was just like that. Like he would leave, and she would have to do like this nighttime routine with
Yeah.
us, like by herself. And I just think she was just lonely. And I don't think it was malicious on my dad's end either. I think he just didn't get it
Mhm.
because he would never be in that situation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, but it's just like, wow, that is really a thing,
Mhm.
because it's just super lonely.
Yeah.
And has nothing to do with not wanting to be around your kids and not enjoying your kids, like because you do so much.
Yeah.
It's just like that adult,
You need your cup filled.
connection that
Yes.
you lack.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I think in part why I started this podcast. And I'm a social butterfly. Like, I love making friends all over. My mom, like, she's like, you need a chart. You need an Excel spreadsheet. She's like, I can't even keep up with all these friends you collect in the places you live. So it wasn't even so much lonely that I didn't have people I could go be with. But you know how it is, even when you have friends, you don't go see them all the time. It's like once in a while,
No.
it's online. And most of my friends were online. And I needed like a connection that was beyond just like the talk in between the kids needing something. I needed real adult conversation and connection. And I think that's a lot of the inspiration behind why this podcast happened. And also, people who are listening right now, I think it helps them to feel connected to a community, and it helps them to feel like they could be in on this conversation too, because they get it and they hear it and they feel it. And so I totally understand that. I think it is really isolating to be a parent, especially a mother, because and my husband's a stay-at-home dad. Like, we both work from home, and he even gets lonely because he's like, when I had a job, like, I had friends, and
Yeah.
there were people I talked to. I didn't always like those people, but I was still around other adults.
Yeah.
So what do you do for that?
And well, I think the tricky part about it is, even if you are lonely and you want to be around adults, at the same time you're too tired to be.
Yep.
So it's like, man, I need this, but also I want to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know I need this, but I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And that's the trickiest part. But I have I don't know, Eric and I my parents watch the kids a couple Saturday nights out of the month, and that helps us. We have a date night at least 2 Saturdays a month. And then I have a girlfriend I've been friends with for like 15 years. She doesn't have kids or anything, but we still are really close, and we try to see each other for dinner once a month. And yeah, I don't know. It's not definitely all the time, but there are occasions when but mostly what I do about it really is just try really super hard not to dwell on it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the key
Like,
to
that's
not
the number
suffering,
one
right?
thing.
In any regard. Yeah.
It's like, it's all right. It's all right. It's like, relax, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're totally fine. And just try and, be positive. I think because when you're more positive and less negative, then you're a better friend to yourself anyways.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's so true. Well, and I have a friend who has kind of said like she wishes she had more friends, and it's always been a pain point for her. And then she realized as she was starting to make more effort, she's like, it's a lot of work to have friends. And I was like, it is. And when you're a mom and you're invested in your family, it's another layer of something. So it's true. And I don't know how much you like think about like abundance mentality and just like the power of thought and everything, but really even that changing of focusing on like it's not something I need to worry about kind of increases like the joy around situations instead of focusing on the negative. It can sometimes the things that are hardest are what pushes us to grow and pushes us to actually have more joy. So it could be pulling you into something that's more important for your life right now, and it may seem like you're missing out, but you're really not. You're gaining so much more. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, let's see. What is your favorite thing about being a mom? As I can hear all of your cute kids running back there. It's the best sound ever.
Did you hear him screaming like 5 minutes ago?
I did. And I think we can edit. As long as I'm talking, we can just cut you out. So everybody listening might be like, I didn't hear anything. What's happening? It's a joy of editing. It's the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, what was the question? Oh, my favorite thing about being a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I really like to hang out with my kids. I really do. Like, I love, like, not thinking of myself as their mom a lot, and just sort of be like, a friend of mine just said something. I was like complaining to her one day, and she said, you just have to remind yourself that you have these really just neat people that you get to hang out with every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're right. It's true. Like, just, yeah, like little kids are so cool. They're funny. They love life.
Oh, they're the best.
It's just like, yeah, it's like, I just love that I just get to hang out with them. Like, it's just playing games or or watching a movie or baking. We bake a lot. So, yeah,
They're your
that's my
built-in
favorite.
best
I mean,
friends.
just hanging out.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that was at first, even like that's kind of what sustained me in the first few months of becoming a homeschooling mom, is it was just so stinking fun. Like I've always been that way though.
Yeah.
We used to live in California and I would take my kids to Disney every single week to the point where they were like, Disney again. And I'm like, fine. If you don't want to go to Disneyland with me, I'll go by myself. Because I just think
Oh my gosh, I would love
they're
that.
the coolest people though, right? Like they have part of us, they
Yeah.
have part of the person we love the most. And even aside from
Yeah.
genetics, like they're just your people and they come to you and they're meant to be
Yeah.
yours. And I am a game. I love playing games. I love board games, card games. The day my kids, we went on a cruise over the fall and they in the kids club learned how to play Uno. And I was like, my life is made. My kids know how to play a game. Like we play a lot of cards now and it's so fun. It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing. So I love that. I love
Oh yeah, Eleanor loves to play cards.
it's the
Yeah.
best. You're like, nobody can
Yeah.
you don't really actually have to feel completely lonely because you have the coolest people ever, right?
Right. Yeah. For
Oh.
sure.
Okay, well, there is a couple more questions I have for you. Are you a reader? You seem like somebody who would be a reader. You're a homeschool mom. You obviously have passion for learning.
No, not really. I'm not a reader.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
I mean, I love reading. I mean, Eleanor and I have to read with each other a lot, you know.
Mhm.
I read stories to the kids all the time. I mean, Wolfgang always has a story in his curriculum, like a chapter book
Yeah.
that we slowly read together. But as far as personal reading, not so much anymore, which is crazy because when I
Mm.
worked, I would read like a book a week generally.
Wow. Was that part of your work?
No, I worked at a psych hospital, but there was a lot of downtime. And
Got it.
so I would read like when nothing was happening, I would read and I would just read all the time. But now, yeah, I mean, I read, I feel like
Yeah.
all day long, but it's
Every
just
day.
with my
Right.
kids, to my kids. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not so much
That makes sense.
personal reading.
Mhm. Yep. It's kind of I love to read and I mostly just listen to audiobooks because when I read actual books, I fall asleep pretty easily.
Yeah.
My eyes just cannot deal. But listening to audiobooks is still, and I fall asleep listening to them if I'm not doing something. But that's the only way that I'm able to keep listening. But it's like a conscious thing where sometimes I go on a drive just so I can listen to a book. And my kids are like, I want to come. I'm like, if you're coming, you're not interrupting my book. I'm not listening to anything on the radio.
Yeah.
We're not playing any show tunes. But yeah, so what is I guess even your favorite children's book of all time, if you had to recommend one?
Oh man, I don't know. That's tough. Well, my
That's
favorite
putting you on the
author
spot.
personally is Augustin Burroughs. I really enjoy
Awesome.
memoirs a lot, and he put out a ton of memoirs. Um,
That's
so
cool.
he's my favorite author. As far as kids, I don't know. I feel we're reading. We're going through. Well, we're almost done with Anne Frank right now, but she's not enjoying it as much. I mean, why would she's not enjoying it as much as I thought she would.
It's not as uplifting as we thought it might be. Oh. It's a little bit of a downer.
It's taking us
So
forever to get
weird.
through it because she's just like.
Oh,
But
I don't like this.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of tough.
It is tough. I should have prepared you for that. I wasn't even anticipating asking that. But I love knowing your favorite author and I love that you love reading memoirs. Do you think someday you will write your own or do you feel like you're kind of doing that over time
Oh,
by
I don't think
having
I would ever do that.
Why not?
I would be too scared.
Scared of sharing your story or scared of the
Yeah. I mean,
judgment?
I like the idea of that, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
You seem like such a
Yeah, I think
hopeless
I'd be too
romantic
scared.
though. That's interesting. But I get the fear because it's a pretty personal thing. It's, putting it all out there for everybody. But I would love to
Oh,
read
yeah.
your memoirs. I feel like people get a piece of that though through social media, like at least a little bit, the surface and sometimes the deep stuff that you feel like sharing. But I would
Yeah.
buy
Well,
it.
the marriage separation I've never talked about on social media.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you should.
Never.
Just kidding. You can do
Because
whatever you
that's
want with your
so
information.
scary to me. That is so
Yeah.
scary. people, or I just wouldn't want anyone to, we've come so far. We're just like, we're each other's people now. I mean, the separation was such a long time ago, but it's like, we're just, think that we're such a strong, loving family. We're our own little community in this house. So it's like to put it out there and for people to judge us before where we are now, I don't know, would just feel so, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but
raw.
It would make me really sad. You know what I mean? Like to have to take any of that in.
I think there's two ways to look at that. I actually have been learning. I've been reading a book called The Power of Now, learning to like live in the present moment. And I'm like, how do you ever like, because it's fantastic. And I'm like, well, I want to write a book that is I am starting to write a book that's kind of the behind the scenes director's cut version of the Marvelous Moms Club. That's really like how my life has evolved through each interview and stage of the last few years. And I'm like, but how do you not get too much stuck in the past and dwell in that? How does that play into living in the present moment? So I kind of get that, where you just don't even want to dredge that up to share it and it's not relevant. But the other take could be people seeing progress, people seeing, well, they started here. And if that's what's possible, that's inspiring to me. So that's the only reason I would say if you ever felt brave enough, there would be value if you look at it from that way.
Yeah, and I think, and it's like, I've wanted to talk about it just because I think like Instagram wasn't a thing during that time. Yeah. But if I would have been on Instagram and saw people like me, followed people like me online, I could not have done that. Yeah. That would have been so damaging for me. Yeah. And I think if I were able to share that I have been in that, and I think about if there are women who follow here.
Are your kids chasing you?
They want bananas.
Bananas for the monkeys.
But I feel like, and the thought of knowing, and I'm not saying specifically like, but the thought of knowing that there's a woman out there who's separated from her husband, has a small child, and then sees mothers online with these seemingly perfect lives and how alone she must feel. Like that makes me want to share because, it's like, just because you see this life now, it doesn't mean there wasn't a before that was just absolutely terrible,
Yeah, I know. It's
and it feels like,
go ahead.
It also just feels like a lie to me. Yeah. I feel like a liar mostly. Like I'm lying, like we've always lived this life where we're just like this all together. We're not all together family, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like this unit and, but I'm not going to tell you about our dark past. Like I feel like I'm lying, but I don't know. Maybe that's too much to share.
It's a hard balance. I think you'll know when the time's right, if it's ever right for you to share that stuff, I think, and I don't think you're a liar for portraying goodness. I think I don't know, it's a fine line we walk. Do we really have to share our garbage for people to appreciate our beauty? I don't think we should have to, but maybe little doses of reality. I feel like your feed and everything is very real, but I totally get what you're saying. It's just it's a hard line to walk. Educating and guiding women and relating to them and also trying to be a beacon of light. Yeah. It's hard. Okay, so final question that I ask everybody on the podcast, that's my own question, I won't rip off yours anymore, is what makes you a marvelous mom?
What makes me a marvelous mom? I don't know. I just show up every day and I wake up and I'm ready to do it, Yeah. I love them and
you're invested.
I'm never going to stop loving them. Right. I'm just like invested for life. So I'm just always here.
I love it.
Never always going away when you're 50 years old.
Can't get rid of mom. Oh, I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for being on here and sharing just your beautiful light with everybody. Where can everybody find you on social media? I know I've mentioned it a few times, but just final plug for everybody to go hang out with you online.
Old Joy and then oldjoy.com.
Awesome. Cool. And I will link to everything we talked about. I will link to the author that Kristen mentioned, and we'll link you to some other good resources for homeschooling if this is something you want to look into. But I think for the most part, even if you've listened and you're not a homeschooler, your biggest takeaway should be there's not one right or wrong way to do this, and you have to trust your own gut, and motherhood is actually quite an awesome ride. So thanks for sharing all your stories here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Have a marvelous day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to take action right now, you're feeling inspired and you're feeling enlightened, and you really want to own this role as a marvelous mom, go to the website, marvelousmomsclub.com/me, and create your own personal Marvelous Moms Manifesto. That is a tongue twister. marvelousmomsclub.com/me. You go fill in some great information, and in the end, you'll have a beautiful manifesto to display where only you can see or the whole family can see, where you can really, really own your role as a marvelous mom and step inside those goals and those ambitions and dreams that you have to become an even more marvelous mom to your beautiful family. So again, marvelousmomsclub.com/me. We will see you over there.